This alert millions of downloads and Silicon Valley fangirling later. The new Chinese chatbot DeepSeek is losing some appeal. The Claman Countdown has learned that management and consulting firm Booz Allen, which does a huge amount of business with the U.S. government, has been pulling apart this chatbot in a so-called sandbox. That's a controlled testing environment that insulates it from any company platforms in case it squirrels out and does some crazy things. And Booz Allen is telling me, quote, no government system should be running it. I spoke both to CEO Horacio Rozanski and CTO Bill Voss, who told me companies and government offices should just right away assume the Chinese government, which has significant connectivity with the private sector, could use DeepSeek to infiltrate a system that allows it in. Now, Booz Allen also said, while some of DeepSeek's outputs are impressive, it's simply a transformer model and cannot produce videos. Software developer Adobe is way ahead of DeepSeek. It's revolutionizing the AI video generation industry. The company will imminently roll out its Firefly video model to the public, which is the only IP-friendly AI video generator available right now. Adobe Chairman and CEO Shantanu Narayen joins me now in a Fox Business exclusive. I mean, Shantanu, on the heels of what I just reported, Booz Allen has told us, what do you make of DeepSeek, its abilities, and have your team been tearing it apart and looking at it?
Well, Liz, first, it's so great to be back on your show. And as you pointed out, the excitement around artificial intelligence, all these new models that are being created, and the ability for these models to actually then have new applications created that deliver great value to customers is immense. And at Adobe, we've really focused a lot more on creativity. So how do we, with our Firefly models that you alluded to, enable anybody who has a creative idea to express that idea, whether it's in an image, whether it's in a vector, or whether it's in a video model. And so I think as you think about the state of the industry, whether it's DeepSeek, whether it's what Amazon or Google or Microsoft are doing, the amount of energy that's being invested into creating these models is fabulous. But I think the real value will be in what are the new applications and interfaces that people create that deliver value when you use it, whether it's in a workflow or an application.
Your team came on and talked about the rollout when Firefly was first available in this image generator for AI. We thought it was absolutely fascinating. You are very close to rolling out Firefly. I mean, I know you have the beta version, but Firefly for actual videos. Tell us what it will be able to do and how you see it being adopted by consumers.
Well, there are 3 or 4 real benefits, I think, of having AI, Liz. The first is when you're trying to ideate and you have this concept that you want to make available, whether it's in a text or an image or video, the ability to just have a text prompt and create a video just creates a huge proliferation of content. Adobe is in that space. You can use our image models. You can use our video models, as you said, in beta, to just sort of start the entire ideation or creation process. But that's just one input. It's then how do you take that initial piece of creative, and if you're creating an email campaign, whether you're creating a new media, whether you're creating a new application, and really put that to test in our deep products, you know, the power and precision, whether it's creating a new form of media, whether it's creating emails. And I think that's where Adobe has spent a lot of our time. And so the usage of these models in applications like Photoshop or Premiere or Illustrator is where the real magic is happening, because creatives are now saying, we have this incredible amount of content that we can use for concepting or ideation. And then we have the power and precision of Adobe in order to take that germ of an idea and translate that into the real creative content that we want to create. So that's on the individual, the freelancer side. On the enterprise side, I think the excitement is even more, because every enterprise is saying, we want to make all of our campaigns more agile. We want to understand the efficacy of any media campaign that we've created. And Adobe, with a product called Gen Studio, is the only company that can do this creation, production, delivery, and activation of that content, and then understand the analytics associated with it. So if you're a B2C company or if you're a B2B company, and you're like, I want to accelerate the production of my content and I want to understand which really worked, we're the only company that can help you do that.
Yeah, it sounds like you're checking so many boxes for enterprises, and I find that really interesting, considering, Shantanu, that this weekend is Super Bowl weekend, and this could very well be the first Super Bowl AI ad year ever, where there will be a huge proliferation of AI-driven ads. I mean, yes, Coca-Cola gotten a little bit of, they ruffled a few feathers when they put out the Christmas ad that was done with AI, generative AI. But can you see any of Adobe's work in what may be pushed out this weekend during the Super Bowl?
Well, the good news is, we're all eagerly looking at, what content and what ads are going to be placed. But I think it's safe to say virtually every ad that runs on Super Bowl, there was some piece of Adobe software that was used in it, whether it was in the ideation part or the content creation or the delivery. And so I can't wait to see what it is. I think, this is all about what computers are really good at, Liz, is trying to take an idea that's a thought in your mind and making it a reality. And that's where Adobe plays such a role. Same thing with Acrobat. When you have a document, we now have the ability to have a conversational interface and to make that relevant in companies like legal. So I'm excited about Super Bowl. I can't wait to see the creativity. And creativity at the end of the day is such a human trait. And what Adobe does is actually enable you to take that creativity and make that real. And so I always say people who are using AI are going to be using all the tools available to them to make them more creative and productive.
Enhance, yeah, it's the enhance word. The Acrobat AI assistant that you just referenced, you rolled out yesterday. Even lawyers sometimes miss important things in a contract. This is really interesting what you are able to do. I know DocuSign has AI generated contracts, but it doesn't appear that anybody else is doing what you guys will be doing here. And basically what it allows people to do is sift out some of the gobbledygook and really point into the important parts of a contract, right? How is that going to add, along with the Firefly video generator, to your bottom line? Because the stock has struggled over the past year, although it had a nice 5% bump since January 10th.
Well, Liz, first, if you think about where the world's information is, it's in PDF. And so where you're an individual who has all this information on your computer, whether you're an enterprise and you think about your entire knowledge management, PDF is the format of choice to make sure that it can be archived, it can be accessed, and it can be disseminated with the fidelity that people want. What we have done is innovated on top of that. If you want to have a conversational interface, you're an academic researcher, you get a 100-page document and you say, let me really understand what this document is all about. You can now have a conversational interface. That was the first fundamental innovation that Adobe did, and that's called Acrobat AI Assistant, which makes those documents so much easier to assimilate and understand. This takes it a further step and saying, now if we can truly understand the semantic meaning of a document, and we know we have maybe 50 contracts, how do the indemnification clauses work differently in each of these? So this is really extending that intelligence from a single document that you're potentially reading to the entire corpus of documents that you might have. And so it enables a lawyer who's dealing with multiple contracts to understand what were the different revisions, how did it change? And so it's just one more step along the way of making sure that we understand how to make an individual more productive, how to make a team more productive, and frankly, how to make the entire enterprise more productive.
Shantanu, you've got some of the best and the brightest in the business on your team there. We're watching all of the developments. Thank you so much for coming on to talk about this. And I know we both went to Cal. I see Cal basketball. The Bears are better positioned than Notre Dame and Syracuse. How about that?
Well, go Bears, Liz. Once a alum, always an alum.
Indeed, indeed. Shantanu Narayen of Adobe. We'll continue to follow everything about your company.